face card. So I want you guys to see a clip from this video that was released a couple of hours ago by Cam James, I believe. It's a very interesting video.
Supply in the 50-year-old high school dropout turned fake pimp turned rapper turned hotep grifter demographic.
Now you want people to shed blood, to exert crazy amounts of energy, to put themselves in danger, to come together now because you're in the hot seat. Well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to put myself in danger. I don't want my son to put himself in danger.
I'm done with these content creators, bro. I was about to say something rude, but I respect most of my elders, as long as they're not as asinine as Tariq.
Right now, the people are protesting in California, and I keep seeing on Twitter, black people don't go, and it's like, all right,
Yeah,
you know, y'all keep trying on Twitter. I know what the protest looks like. It don't look like what y'all are trying to do on Twitter, but you know, get your likes, get your clout up.
I'm not even gonna cuss this time. Tabitha, I hear your concerns. I hear you when you say you don't want to put yourself or your son in harm's way. But where we diverge is your reasoning. I don't know you, but judging from the tone here, you aren't gonna do anything anyway. Y'all make money from these people watching your work, just like I do. Who are you trying to influence and why? Now, are also protesting the lack of due process. That affects Tabitha, her son, and you. If you don't have an alternative to fighting.
Now, I found a lot of the different things that he was saying in this YouTube video. I'm not quite done with it yet, right? But I found that a lot of the stuff that he was saying, critiquing Tariq Nasheed about his FBA movement, was valid. And he made an attempt, I want to, let that be known now, an attempt of being nuanced in terms of the way that he was analyzing the points that Tariq Nasheed's movement was making, the various different things that he was saying about immigrants, or as he says, tethers, and all of the other different dynamics of this movement, right? He had notable people on his video, like Foreign Man from a Foreign Land, right? Who's Caribbean, I believe. And he had FD Signifier, who I believe is a Black American, right? And so he had notable people in the, I guess you call it, Black liberal space, who were giving their inputs about this particular movement, their opinions as somebody who was a part of their particular lineage. But here's the problem. When I started to look at the video, I didn't agree with everything, but I was like, okay, he's making some points. Okay, yeah, he's bringing some facts. And then he introduced this.
Celebrated our first anniversary. As we enter our second year together, I still can't believe how fortunate I am that she's in my life. She was born in America and spent several of her early years in Ethiopia, a country with a proud culture and a very vibrant immigrant community here in Atlanta and beyond. Amharic, or Amharinia, was her first language, and she spent most of her life here at this point. The knowledge that Tariq has poisoned the culture to the point where she's felt unwelcome at times pisses me off. This is deeply personal, and if I have to walk through every angle of what makes this dude a loser to drive the point home, it is what it is. Baby, I know you're watching this, I love you. And I'll clarify that in her case, it's mostly online. We get along in real life, for the most part.
And I saw like getting thousands of likes and hundreds of retweets. I was just like, wait, hold on. Is this just a small underground section of people? And then like I saw people interacting with it, and I was just like, hold on, this don't make no sense. I don't feel like these are that many people. And then you look into the likes, and then you look into the reposts, and then you go to these profiles, and then you see something even more pernicious. A lot of these ain't real. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, sorry, I have to drop it. This thing that we be doing online is the same thing with the gender wars. You don't have that really happening like that in real life. Black Americans and the rest of the Black diaspora have gotten along. Now, are there transgressions between Black Americans and the rest of the Black Sure. Do Black Americans come up to me and go say, hey, what up, man? Big up yourself. Do they do that? Sure. Sometimes I do a little bit of a boxing, and and we go back and forth with that. We roast, That's what happens amongst colleagues. That's fine. That's cultural diffusion. I ain't getting mad at that. It is what it is.
Now, earlier in the video, he had some other, tidbits, some other different types of things where he was showing how immigrants were being mistreated by Black Americans. when he started to introduce his girlfriend, beautiful woman, right? Great gowns, beautiful girl. When he introduced that relationship and said that she was somebody who was born in America, but she spent most of her early years in Ethiopia, and he gave basically that context of being with somebody who's technically, I guess, Ethiopian American is what I would assume, right? That kind of made me side eye. In my other video where I was saying that the AA Pan Africanists are like the FBAs, but on the other side of the spectrum. What I was saying is the FBAs, they hate, the African part of African American, and the Pan African AAs, they hate the American part of African American. And I think the only ones that are actually trying to make sense of it are Black Americans in the attempt of understanding the significance of both identities put together. Because when you have different people who are in relationships with people from other cultures, which is nothing new, we are in the United States of America, there's people from all over the world that come here, that you're bound to be with somebody from a different culture. That's not necessarily my problem, but it sort of reveals a particular type of bias where somebody is saying, oh, I do not associate myself with this particular type of thing. I'm not like the rest of these Black Americans, or I'm not like this particular group. I actually appreciate culture. And sometimes it's I appreciate culture because I am with somebody from a different culture. And I feel that maybe they're not really understanding the other parts or other significant parts of the conversation when we're talking about Black American culture or lineage, right? Because Black American culture and lineage is something that I feel needs to be preserved. And when you have people from other cultures who are Black come into the United States of America, I understand critiquing Black Americans, but when you do not critique the other people, when you do not say anything about what they do and how they act, and when you say that this is just something that happens online, you really leave yourself open to, I guess, perpetuating. I just feel like you're not being honest. Let me say it like that. Let me not use any buzzwords. I feel like you're not being honest of the full extent of what's going on and what's happening in these conversations. And so, yeah, that is something that I really wanted to think about. And I've noticed it with a lot of other types of people who think like him. I'm not saying that all of the stuff that he said in this video is bad or it is not someone who's trying to be honest, right? I'm just saying that it is not taking into account the full extent of, cultural exchange. A lot of the positioning from a lot of African Americans or Black Americans is we treated Africans so bad. Africans have done nothing. They're just uneducated. So much coddling. I said it before, so much coddling. And the positioning is let's take these stories of Africans coming to America, getting mistreated by, African Americans, and let's create a narrative that is the full extent of what's going on, right?